Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Community Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lee, and thank you for joining me once again. I love that you spend a little bit of your time with me. There's so many podcasts out there, and the fact that we're hanging out a bit means a lot, so thank you. I'm changing it up slightly on the podcast today. Instead of one guest, we're featuring a whole island, Galiano Island. It has a little spot in my heart. I love it every time I'm there. I got to talk to a couple of people from the Galiano Trails Society about the trails there, about the society. It's fantastic. I got to take a couple of friends along as well and do some running and ask them what they thought. Can't wait to share all of that with you. A little bit of housekeeping first. Thanks to Coast Mountain for a wonderful event that I got to participate in over the weekend called the Buck in Hell Ultra Race. They have a 35, a 50, and a 50K relay, and I got to participate with my friend Chris, who you'll hear later in the podcast about Galiano, as a relay partner. Got to see lots of you out there, people who have subscribed, people who have offered up their own tips and material to the newsletter. I love the community and seeing all of you out there and being involved in it. It's just so much fun. So great day on the mountain of Mount Seymour. Thank you, Coast Mountain. And the last little bit of housekeeping, just wanted to say thank you to all of you for the support, for subscribing, for liking. I had mentioned the Summer of Sound competition through Substack. I was a front runner. That's because of all of you. Unfortunately, it's not going forward, but we're on their radar. And thank you all for that. Speaking of on the radar, Galiano Trails should be on yours. Check out the most recent newsletter for the written piece. I've had a ton of fun of putting all this together, and today is the podcast. Galiano Island is a southern Gulf island in British Columbia, Canada. It's a little less than 1 hour on the ferry from a major Vancouver ferry terminal, but you feel like you've gone a lot further away than that. Sheena and I have been going since 2015, and every time I go, I seem to discover a new trail to run on. I love it. It's either beside the ocean or up on some incredible ridge with a beautiful view. Every time I go, I discover something new. And as soon as I started doing this newsletter and podcast, I knew I wanted to feature it in some kind of way. So recently, I reached out to people that I had met or shops that I've gone to on the island in the past, and there's also the Galiano Trails Society, and I was looking for trail runners that would chat with me about the island and the trails there. I was very fortunate that they put me in contact with a couple of people.
So I guess I'm always stunned by the generosity of heart of people.
They have this dream of building an island length trail, so they're slowly realizing it.
Including Jesse Keefer, who owns Bodega Ridge and is a board member on the Galiano Trails Society, as well as the president of the Galiano Trails Society, Vilupti Corlis.
Galiano Trails Society is specifically focused on trails that are on people's private property. If you have a private piece of land and you are willing to open it up for trails, they'll come and build the trail and they insure the trail for you as well. So it's super great. And they've built more than 100 kilometers of trails on the island over the years. We take care of the trails as well. So we go back and take care of them. We just have another new trail that we're just building from Bodega Ridge down to the water.
The trail from Bodega Ridge down to the water will open and link the existing network even further. Jesse's Resort at Bodega Ridge is a pretty incredible place to start your trail adventures on the island, as you can access some of the finest trails the island has to offer right from there. Jesse is lucky enough that he gets to run home from work.
From Bodega Ridge, where I work, I can run pretty much all the way home, which is about 12 kilometers away. So it goes through the ecological reserve above Bodega Ridge, and then it connects to the Bodega Ridge Park, and then to Pebble Beach. There's the Great Beaver Swamp, which is you run right by that, and then to the Learning Center. And then I call it the wall. There's this ridge that you hike over to get to the actual Learning Center property. And then from there, I'm almost home. Like, it's only another kilometer from there. So just a kilometer on the road out of the whole run.
12 kilometers of running over a ridge in an ecological reserve, past a beautiful beach, around the Great Beaver Swamp, with a bit of road running at the end. Sounds like a pretty nice commute. and I can confirm those trails are so much fun. The views from the ridge are incredible. You can see forever, and the trail along the water between Cable Bay and Pebble Beach is an amazing piece of single track.
There's just an amazing network of trails, like some of my most favorite trails do. And they're great because they intersect. So you can really get lost in a lovely way, sort of, I'm going to go down this trail and then I'm going to go down that trail and I'm going to go up this trail.
I was trying to toe the line putting this thing together because people talking about their favorite trails can sometimes be funny when you don't have any clue about where they're talking about. The context is kind of lost and it's sort of funny, but the passion that Vilupti had shone through, and that's what I really wanted to highlight, as well as her passion for what the Trails Society is doing. GalianoTrails.com is the website. They've got great trail maps available there, including for Tapovan Park. Jesse kept referring to the park as Vilupti's Park, and I wasn't entirely sure what he meant. What does that mean?
So I had, we all have our own little dreams, right? Mm-hmm. And from the time I was a very small child, actually, I always wanted to have a park. And I always wanted to create a park and dedicate it to peace. So whenever I was traveling in the world or anywhere, I would always be like, I want to go see the land and see, maybe this is where I'm going to have my peace park. There was a piece of property that came up for sale on Galiano. I looked at it at the time, and for some reason it didn't go through, or something happened. And so then in 2013, I was just driving home one day and I saw like a sign on the side of the road that said, for sale by owner, 50 acres plus, whatever it was. And so that was the first part of Tapovan that I bought. In 2014, an adjacent property came up for sale as well. And they, everybody was saying it was going to get logged because the property was a forestry lot and the people who were looking at it wanted to harvest it. So I didn't want that to happen. So I mortgaged this house property and bought the second property, but it ended up being 200 acres. And then I didn't know what to do. Then I contacted the Galiano Trails Society, and which I'd never heard of before, but saw some article in our little, community paper, and reached out to them and said, well, I just bought 200 acres. Do you want to make trails on it? And they said, they were so excited. They were like, they couldn't believe that somebody bought this land and wanted to make trails on it.
How cool is that? Vilupti, thank you so much for doing what you've done. Thank all the landowners of Galiano for allowing trail access on their private land. It's so awesome. I can tell you any trail runner setting foot on the trails of Galiano is immediately thankful. A couple of trail runners that got to step foot on the island along with me recently, two of my good trail running friends, Jeff Radomski and Chris Shire. I've always loved running these trails, and I had told them plenty about it beforehand. We ran them, and I can tell you I did not oversell it.
I was really surprised with how easy they were to keep an eye on, and they were really soft and rolling, but well booted and not broken down, so not too hard packed either. So it was you could get into a pretty easy flow and get some good speed going without having to think too much about it. So very light and easy experience compared to the rugged fjord, North Shore, cliffside, deadfall, watch out you don't roll down a gully and have to call search and rescue kind of thing.
Oh, it was a treat, man. The trails are softer. It's just rolling. It's relaxed. Gives you a little bit more opportunity to kind of open it up, air it out, run a little faster, trust your feet a little more. Yeah, the trails are more forgiving out here, which is great because you don't want to spend your whole time looking at your feet because the landscape here is just so striking. Half the trails we ran were on the water. Like you're staring right out into the ocean. So it was a treat to really admire the views and still get the kilometers in.
It really is a treat to run on Galiano and get all those kilometers in. Bringing Jeff and Chris along and featuring them here, along with Jesse and Vilupti, talking about all of these trails, might make you think that you're going to see lots of other people out there. That's not necessarily the case. Galiano's not trying to hide anything. It's just naturally quiet.
Even, I'll run home some days in the summer and I might bump into one or two people in 12 kilometers of trail, like on a July or August day.
Right?
Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
and you don't really have the fear of like, oh, there's any animals or anything, because it's not
Yeah,
really.
it's funny. That's often the biggest, like the first question that people ask us when they check in. It's like, what do we have to worry about? And it's like, well, you don't have to really worry about mink, otters, or deer. You're good here.
So good here, friends. The written newsletter has lots of great pictures of these places so you can see for yourself the kind of vistas the island offers. Running in Bodega Ridge Provincial Park, Montague Harbor Marine Provincial Park, or Dionisio Point Provincial Park are all great experiences. So too is running in the Bluffs Park and on Mount Galiano. Those parks are run by the Galiano Club. They are close enough together that you can link them really easily and enjoy a bunch of awesome views and pack in some vert. You'd be really hard-pressed to run out of trails on the island, my friends. It's not as though there aren't other things to do, though. The Saturday market is a staple. There are a ton of wonderful galleries and studios. There are lots of geocaches to find, and somehow even more beaches than you'd expect being on an island. Sheena and I love stand-up paddleboarding at Montague, and it's also an amazing place to see the bioluminescence, not to mention watch the sunset. On top of all of that, there are great places to eat while you're running on Galiano.
Pilgrim's incredible. It's a real dining experience. The chef there is another Jesse McCleary, and he's one of the most talented human beings I've ever met. And his partner Melanie opened up a pizza restaurant there called Charmer, which is also really, really good.
Oxeye is by far my favorite. I've got two close friends who are responsible for the menu and the production and the service, and they do an incredible job. Their food is exceptional, predominantly locally sourced. The menu varies every week. It really does it for me, man. It's a beautiful spot. Could eat those blondies and homemade donuts all day, every day, man. They're too good.
I love Babes in the Woods. So I'm a diehard Babes in the Woods. Their pizza is incredible. Their salads are incredible.
If we're talking incredible, I have to shout out my two favorites on the island as well. One of them is a bakery, which is one of my favorite bakeries ever. It's called Sturdy's Bay Bakery. I love the friendly staff, and who doesn't love baked goods? When my mom visited, she loved getting any of the day-olds because it made the choice easier, and when she was scoring a delicious deal. Sheena and I love grabbing an espresso, something baked, and heading to the bluffs for the view while we snack. For a view while we eat, Crane and Robin serves up tacos and delicious drinks in Montague Harbor. I struggle to verbalize how much I love this patio. You can just watch the harbor full of activity, enjoy the menu, and the hours slip by. If you're camping at Montague Provincial Park, you can just walk or paddle back and forth. If you're not camping at Montague, Galiano still has plenty of options. As mentioned, Jesse's Bodega Ridge Resort is a perfect place to hit the trails from. Jesse and Vilupti both suggested the Woodstone Manor, as well as the Galiano Inn and Spa, as it's essentially next door to the BC Ferry Terminal. They even have rental cars there, so you can just walk onto the ferry, walk over there, rent a car, and explore the whole island. The provincial parks offer camping, and we all know those vacation sites that offer short-term rentals. If you're looking for a specific one, Jesse suggested the property in the Bluff.
That's just killer. I would highly recommend that. It's booked out really far in advance, but if you can get in there, it's an absolutely spectacular property.
Galiano is a trail running and outdoor paradise. I'm so happy to be able to share some of this with all of you, and I hope to hear from you about some of your favorite trail running places to visit. We could take up the whole day with this podcast about Galiano, but it's not necessary. If you love trail running and are looking for a low-key place to visit, add this to the list. You will be happy that you did.
It's worth the journey.
Be prepared to see a whole bunch of beauty.
I can't think of anything else. Bring your camera.
Huge thank you to Jesse Keefer, Vilupti Corlis, Jeff Radomski, and Chris Shire. Huge thank you to all of you for listening. Shout out to race volunteers everywhere. Thanks fucking hell. And until next time, I'm Adam Lee, and this is Community Trail Running.